All right. Shalom, shalom. All right. Anybody remember what we went over last week? What was it? The temple, right? And the meaning. This is the meaning of the temple, part 2. So last week we went through the all of the stuff that's in the yard, the courtyard, the altar, the laver. That's as far as we got. So now we got to basically tackle the temple itself. So we left off at the parts about what if you rejected the altar, the sacrifice. So we'll pick it up right there. Give me Revelations 9 and 13. So this is the last couple of scripts that we went into.
Revelation chapter 9 at verse 13. And the sixth malach sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar.
From where?
From the golden altar.
The golden altar. What happens at the golden altar? Or the brazen altar? Sacrifice, right? Go ahead.
Which is before Elohim, saying, to the sixth malach, which had the trumpet.
So if you reject the sacrifice, this is what you have to look forward to. Anybody that rejected the sacrifice in the Old Testament and say you didn't need an animal to sacrifice, this is what was coming to you and coming to you. Read.
Loose the four malachim, which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four malachim were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men.
To do what?
To slay the third part of men.
To slay the third part of men. So guess what? It's a lot of people rejecting the sacrifice. They don't believe in this side of the book. The New Testament at all. So it's a lot of people rejecting. And all of them got what coming? A third part of what?
A third to a year for to slay the third part of men.
To do what?
To slay the third part of men.
To slay the third part of men. Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 3. So again, we walk this thing all the way from the outer court to how you get into the temple, which you got to go through the gate, show the meaning of the gate, and the brazen altar. Then you got to wash yourself in the laver, and then after these things are complete, you can be able to go into the temple. But in order to get into the temple, you have to be what? Free of sin, set apart, and you have to become what? Because we are a nation of what? So you have to become what to get inside? A priest. All right? Read.
We said Habakkuk.
Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 3.
Habakkuk chapter 3 at verse 3. Elohim came from Teman, and the Kodesh one from Mount Paran.
How many horns did the brazen altar have on it? 4, right? Read.
Selah. His esteem covered the Shamaim, and the earth was full of his praise, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand.
He had what?
Horns coming out of his hand.
Horns coming out of his hand. Read.
And there was the hiding of his power.
The what?
The hiding of his power.
The hiding of his power. So this very one that was sent to save you, the people are actually rejecting, and they're going to be a part of what it just read in Revelations, that these angels is going to slay a third of men. All right? Now we're going to get to the next part. We just left off from where we left off from last week. So, at the temple, the only thing that could be seen by the people were what objects? Anybody remember? at the temple, what were the objects or the furniture that could be seen by the people, by the masses? The menorah is inside. They could only see the gate, the brazen altar, and the laver. Everything else, you would have to be a priest in order to see these things. All right? So the mercy seat and all of that stuff was hidden away. So you must enter into the gate. You must have this sacrifice to atone for your sin. Then you must wash yourself and cleanse yourself in the laver. Once you are washed and cleansed, you would be a priest, and then you would be able to go inside. But if you don't become a king and priest, what does that mean for you? Death. Because no sin can be in the presence of Yahuwah. All right? So let's get Hebrews 9:22.
Hebrews chapter 9 at verse 22. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood.
Purged with what?
With blood.
Purged with blood. So you must have this sacrifice and to be washed. This is a must. No getting around it. Exodus 29:42.
This is Hebrews 9:22 again. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission.
There's no remission of sin. So this sacrifice must be made. In the Old Testament, it was with bulls and goats and lambs and rams, things of this nature. And if you didn't do this, you had to bear your own iniquity. Your own sin came upon you. All right? Exodus 29:42.
Exodus or Shemot chapter 29 at verse 42. This shall be a continual burnt offering.
It shall be what?
A continual burnt offering.
A continual burnt offering. Go ahead.
Throughout your generations.
How long?
Throughout your generations.
Go ahead.
At the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before Yahuwah, where I will meet you to speak there unto you.
So he said before to meet you and speak to you. So if you ain't not clean, how can you do this? You can't. No sin. But it's showing you it's a continual burnt offering, meaning he's always ready to accept you once you turn away from your sins. Right? Always ready to accept you. Let's get to the laver. Exodus 30:17.
Shemot chapter 30 at verse 17. And Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, saying, You shall also make a laver of brass.
Do what?
Make a laver of brass.
Make a laver of brass. Hold on. Go ahead.
You shall also make a laver of brass.
You shall also make a laver of brass. Read.
And his foot also brass, to wash withal. And you shall put it between the tabernacle of the congregation.
Where is it at?
Between the tabernacle of the congregation.
And what else?
And the altar.
So you got the altar. You must take this sacrifice, and then you walk over to the laver. Go ahead.
And you shall put water therein. For Aharon and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet thereat.
Who do this?
For Aharon and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet thereat.
Go ahead.
When they go into the tabernacle of the congregation, they shall wash with water, that they die not.
That they what?
That they die not.
Cannot be unclean in the presence of Yahuwah. Go ahead.
Or when they come near to the altar to minister, to burn offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. So they shall wash their hands and their feet, that they die not. And it shall be a statute forever to them.
How long?
Forever.
Go ahead.
Even to him and to his seed throughout their generations.
So you had to, after this sacrifice, the priest had to walk over, wash their hands and their feet in order to walk into the temple. And again, the laver is the only thing that don't have a measurement. What does that symbolize? Anybody know? Said the laver is the only object that doesn't have a measurement like everything else. It means unlimited washing, because you can always cleanse yourself more and more, right? So it's unlimited of cleansing, because the washing renews you. Titus chapter 3 and verse 5. But we're going to find that it's not really about getting the dirt off your hands and your feet. Titus chapter 3 and verse 5.
Titus chapter 3 at verse 5. Not by works of righteousness, which we have done, but according to his mercy he saved us. By the washing of regeneration.
By the what?
The washing of regeneration.
Go ahead.
And renewing of the Ruach HaKodesh.
Renewing of what?
Of the Ruach HaKodesh.
So again, this is not really about washing the hands and the feet so much as washing the soul or the spirit, right? Because we know that the scribes and Pharisees was big on this, right? Always, why do your disciples break the law by not washing their hands and doing these things when again you filthy inside? All right? Give me Luke chapter 3 and verse 21.
Luke chapter 3 at verse 21. Now when all the people were baptized, it came to pass.
Baptizing is a form of what?
Washing.
Washing, right? Read.
It came to pass that Mashiach also being baptized and praying, the Shamayim was opened. And the Ruach HaKodesh descended into a bodily shape like a dove upon him. And a voice came from Shamayim which said, You are my beloved son, and you I am well pleased.
Well pleased. John chapter 13 and verse 8. So we must be cleansed. After the sacrifice, we must be cleansed. John 13 and 8.
Yehukanan chapter 13 at verse 8. Kepha saith unto him, You shall never wash my feet.
You shall what?
You shall never wash my feet.
He didn't even know it. He think he doing something good. Did you say, you ain't gonna never wash my feet? But if he don't, what happens?
And Mashiach answered him, If I wash you not, you have no part with me.
You what?
You have no part with me.
You don't got no part with me if you don't get cleansed. So again, this is a daily thing. 1 John chapter 1 verse 8.
1 John chapter 1 at verse 8. If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves.
Do what?
We deceive ourselves.
Go ahead.
And the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness.
To do what?
To cleanse us from all unrighteousness.
So again, the cleansing, this is why there's no measurement on the laver, because the cleansing is daily. Every day you should be trying to purge the sin out of your heart, as opposed to trying to wash your hands and do these things. Again, this is not bad, but this is what the scribes and Pharisees twisted this into. But it's really talking about cleansing your soul, your spirit, so to speak. All right. Exodus chapter 38 and verse 8.
Exodus chapter 38 at verse 8. And he made the laver of brass, and the foot of it brass, of the looking glasses.
Of the what?
Of the looking glasses.
What is a looking glass? What is it? It's a mirror. So, at this laver, right past the altar, and then you get the laver, there was a mirror there. What do you think the mirror was there for? So you can stop and look at yourself from the back and say, "Ooh, oh my waves is spinning." Was it for something like that? No, it was right to see yourself, to really look at your inner man. To know that an innocent animal just died on your behalf. You know what I'm saying? To look at that and reflect and say, wow, I need to change this inward man. Not the outward person, but the man that's inside need to be changed. Again, not to get up there and like, oh, my goodness, I'm killing them today. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. Read that from the top again.
And he made the laver of brass, and the foot of it brass, of the looking glasses, of the women assembling.
Of the who assembling?
Of the women assembling.
So we see that women actually deal with the vanity deeper than most men. Read.
Which assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
So when they got up there, when you get to wash yourself and all these things, get cleansed, then it was this glass up there for you to actually reflect on your inner man to see who you are. All right? Again, cleansing on a daily. It's really about the inner man, not the outer.
Indeed.
Matthew chapter 23 and verse 26.
Matthew chapter 23 at verse 26. You blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter.
Do what?
Cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also.
So as you can see, this is what he's trying to get across to these scribes and Pharisees. So they walking around like little John and them with the pip cup. Right? And it's so sweet on the outside, but it's poison inside of it. Read that again.
You blind Pharisee, clean first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like unto whited sepulchres.
You are what?
Like unto whited sepulchres.
You like a real pretty coffin, right? So when the dope boy get killed, he say, "Don't bury me, man. Make sure y'all bury me. I want a Maserati coffin, right?" It's the sweetest, man. That boy coffin was so sweet. But nigga, you dead. You can't enjoy the stuff. Make sure you put my biggest chain on. I want my rollie on. Make no sense. Read.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward.
Oh, that thing is nice. They paid 15 stacks for that. Read.
but are within full of dead men's bones.
Full of what?
Dead men's bones.
Full of dead men's bones. All that stuff they put in the coffin with you, you can't take none of it with you. Guess what? The people that work at the funeral home went out there and got it out and pawned it. Dummy. Read.
And all uncleanliness. Even so, you also outwardly appear righteous unto men.
You do what?
Outwardly appear righteous unto men.
Outwardly appear righteous to men. Oh, I got on the most beautiful garment ever. Fringes all the way down to the ground. But inwardly you what? Full of dead men's bones. Keep your finger where you at, out.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
But within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous.
That's these wicked folks again. Appear beautiful on the outside, but inside you rotten, full of dead men's bones. So that's the reason for the mirrors at the right past the laver, for you to reflect on the inward man, not focusing on your outer appearance like we still do to this very day. Right? We still see people focusing all on the outside. You know what I'm saying? Worried about somebody don't got on a garment or something like this, but you got on a garment and you doing all types of wickedness. Standing on the corner in the name of Yah, doing all types of wickedness with a beautiful garment on, which makes no sense. So it means you done got on this, but you really ain't cleansed. You really ain't washed. All right? Give me Ephesians 5:26. Because you must be clean to be in the presence of Yah. Must be. Because no sin can be in his presence.
Ephesians chapter 5, verse 26. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word.
By the what?
By the word.
Read that from the top one more time.
That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word.
Washing of water by the word. So again, this is a must. You must be cleansed. Exodus 30:20. So remember, you started on the outside, on the outer courts, with all the other people, with all the other sinners, right? Well, Mashiach says, I come not to, I'm going to paraphrase it, you know the thing when he said about the sinners? Sinners and publicans, they was getting at him because he was sitting with the sinners and publicans, and he said something like, I came not for those that need a physician, but those that are sick. So basically, if you righteous already, I didn't come for you. I came for the sinners. So everybody started in the outer court, right? With all the other sinners. Then you must enter into the gate. We did a lesson called the 2 gates. We know Mashiach is the gate. He says, I am the door. Once you enter into the gate, there's a sacrifice, a brazen altar. We know that he made the ultimate sacrifice. Then after that, you're supposed to cleanse yourself in the thing. You're supposed to look at that looking glass or that mirror and reflect on yourself and change the inner person, right? And if you do these things, you're supposed to become a priest, or because we are a nation of kings and priests. Once you become a priest, you're supposed to be able to go inside of the temple. All right? Exodus 30:20.
Exodus or Shemot chapter 30 and verse 20. When they go into the tabernacle of the congregation, they shall wash with water, that they die not. Or when they come near to the altar to minister, to burn offering made by fire unto Yahuwah.
So they must do this at least, or they would die. 1 Peter 2:5.
1 Peter chapter 2 at verse 5. You also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house.
A what?
A spiritual house.
Spiritual house, meaning the people. That's why you always hear everybody says of the body of Mashiach. We're supposed to make up the body. But nobody don't really want to play their role because everybody want to be the head, right? But if it's just the head, how does the head get around? It's just laying down somewhere, right? But nobody don't want to be the hand. So what if the face or the head gets an itch on it? The hand can the head scratch itself? Right? But nobody wants to play their role. Because everybody wants to be the head. That's no good. Read that again.
You also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and Kodesh priesthood.
Of what kind?
Kodesh priesthood.
Go ahead.
To offer up spiritual sacrifices.
To do what?
To offer up spiritual sacrifices.
So we're not the priest now that we can go and actually talking about kill a lamb and do all these things and do a sacrifice and say, what kind of sacrifice?
Spiritual sacrifices.
Spiritual sacrifices, which we're going to find out is prayers and things of this nature. But also the temple, what type of floor does it say that it have? Anybody remember? There's actually no floor. It's sitting on the ground. And we know they was in the desert. So this means their feet was constantly dirty. So anybody that went to Egypt know every single time that you walk outside, your shoes are filthy. So if you got some brand new, whatever it is that you cherish, it is not the place to rock them. Because they're going to be filthy by the time you walk from out the building to your car. Your feet going to be filthy. So it didn't have a floor. All right? So your feet was dirty all the time. John chapter 5 and verse 3.
John, or Yehukanan, chapter 5 and verse 3. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For a Malak went down at certain season into the pool, and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in was made whole.
Was made what?
Was made whole.
Was made whole. So this water had this healing power in it. Finish that out.
Was made whole of whatsoever disease he had.
So this water had healing in it. James 1 and 23. So if you got to that, if you made it to the stage of actually getting a look into the mirror, what was that mirror there for one more time? Exactly, so you can reflect on the inner man, right? But we know our people. Read.
James chapter 1 verse 23. For if any man be a hearer of the word.
Be a what of the word?
A hearer of the word.
Go ahead.
And not a doer.
Go ahead.
He is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass.
In a what?
In a glass.
So it's like you went up there and then went through the whole process and got up there and forgot who you are. That make any sense? Why go through all the steps? Read that from the top again.
If any man be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he behold himself and goeth his way.
And do what?
And goeth his way.
Goeth his way. Yah says, my way. Everything he was talking about is the way. But this guy goes his way. That means you did all of this stuff for nothing. Got up to the mirror, saw the sacrifice, washed yourself, looked in the mirror, and turned back and went into the courtyard with the sinners. Whole bunch of people doing that. Whole bunch. Finish that out.
For he behold himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forget what manner of man he was.
He did what?
Forget what manner of man he was.
Straightway forgot what manner of man he was. So again, this washing is not about washing the dirt off your hands and your feet, but it's about washing the sin out of your heart, out of your soul. That's what this temple thing is really trying to show us. Sins of the heart, not the dirt of the flesh. Hebrews 4:12.
Hebrews chapter 4 at verse 12. For the word of Elohim is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and ruach.
Of what?
Of soul and ruach.
Of soul and ruach. This is past your flesh, soul and your ruach and your spirit. So again, we know that the laver is the only thing that don't have no measuring size to it, symbolizing that you're supposed to be cleansed daily. So now let's get into the tent itself. Exodus chapter 26 at verse 15. Exodus chapter 26 and verse 15.
Exodus or Shemot chapter 26 at verse 15. And you shall make boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood, standing up. 10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and 1.5 cubits shall be the breadth of one board. 2 tenons shall be there in one board, set in order one against another. Thus shall you make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And you shall make the boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards on the south side.
So he's describing how to make this thing, which is the temple itself. Oh, that. Get me Ephesians 2:19.
The book of Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 19. Now therefore you are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints, and of the household of Elohim.
Of the what?
Of the household of Elohim.
Go ahead.
And are built upon foundations of the apostles.
So he's talking about the people now. The people actually being the temple, the spiritual temple. Read.
And you are built upon the foundations of the apostles and prophets, Mashiach himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto the Kodesh temple in Yahuwah. Verse 22.
Go ahead.
In whom you also are builded together for an habitation of Elohim through the Ruach.
Through the Ruach. So it's talking about the physical temple over here. Now it's talking about the spiritual temple. 1 Peter 2 and 5 again.
First Peter chapter 2 and verse 5. You also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house.
A what house?
A spiritual house.
Spiritual house, read.
And Kodesh priesthood.
And a Kodesh priesthood. All right. Exodus 35 and 30. We got to get inside sooner or later.
Shemot chapter 35 and verse 30. And Moshe said unto the children of Israel, See, Yahuwah have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of of the tribe of Judah. And he hath filled him with the Ruach of Elohim, in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, and to devise curious works, to work in gold and in silver and in brass.
Verse what?
Verse 33.
All right, we'll do it right there. So Bezalel was the one to come in to do this building of this thing, and he was filled with the Ruach to be able to do this. He couldn't just do it on his own. All right. Jump back to verse 15.
Verse 15. And the incense altar, and his staves, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the hanging of the door at the entering of the tabernacle, the altar of burnt offerings, with his brazen grate, his staves, and all his vessels, the laver and his foot, the hanging of the court, his pillars, and their sockets, and the hanging of the door of the court, the pins of the tabernacle, and the pins of the court, and their cords, the cloth of service, to do service in the Kodesh place.
Stop right there. Hold on a second, 1 moment. Let me get something. All right. Exodus 30 and verse 15. So this is the building of the temple part.
Shemot chapter 30 and verse 15. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, when they give an offering unto Yahuwah to make an atonement for your souls.
So stop right there. So to make this temple, it says that the rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less. They got to give the same thing. Nobody that was at the house answered this. Why is it that the rich give more? I mean, why do they got to give the same thing? What's the reason behind that? If you was at the house, don't answer. So why is it that the rich and the poor give the same amount? Going once, twice. Absolutely. Nobody could boast and brag and say that I gave the most. How like we like to try to brag, right? You know, I'm in the $1,000 tithe line. You know what I'm saying? They got my name on the seat. You know, and the rich couldn't say that I couldn't afford it. I mean, the poor, they couldn't say that I couldn't afford it. So y'all got everything set. So you can't boast and brag and act like you something that you're not. And you can't turn around and say, man, I can't afford to give it. So it's the same amount. Y'all adjusting everything that he do. All right? So get me 1 Corinthians 3 and 11. So we'll see that all of these things are covered in gold, layered, covered in pure gold.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 11. For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is in Mashiach. Now, if any man build upon the foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire, and the fire shall try every man's work.
How many?
Every man's work.
Go ahead.
Of what sort it is. If any man's work abide, which he had built thereupon, he shall receive a reward. If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss. But he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire. Know you not that you are the temple of Elohim?
You are the what?
The temple of Elohim.
Know you not that you yourself are the temple of Elohim? So if the physical temple had to be clean and built a certain way, and if you are the temple, what does that mean for your body? It's got to be what? Got to be clean. Read.
Know you not that you are the temple of Elohim, and that the Ruach of Elohim dwell in you?
So if you're not clean, how can the Ruach dwell within you? It can't, right? Read.
If any man defile the temple of Elohim, him shall Elohim destroy.
He shall do what?
Him shall Elohim destroy.
So if you defile this temple, Elohim will do what to you?
Destroy.
He will destroy you. So remember, these bars and all of this stuff are made of pure gold. To get gold, how is it made? It's a process. By fire, right? That's what he's talking about. If your work is right, it won't burn up. But if it's wicked and it's unrighteous, the fire gonna destroy it. So the next time, first time he was baptized by water, second time it'll be by fire, to see if you can come through it, to be tried like gold. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 21.
Ephesians chapter 2 at verse 21. In whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto the Kodesh temple in the master, in whom you are also builded together for an habitation of Elohim through the Ruach.
Through the what?
Through the Ruach.
Through the Ruach. Ephesians 4 and 16.
Ephesians 4 verse 16. From whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplieth, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part.
In the what?
The measure of every part.
Is he talking about us, the people, being the temple and the Ruach dwelling in you? Now, do y'all remember what the temple was covered with? It was covered with 4 different things. It was covered with badger skin, ram skin, goat's hair, and linen. So, how do you think that looks, sis? You said unpleasant, right? So the Most High would make something that looks unpleasant?
No, I'm not saying that, but I just can't picture it.
But you're actually right. You're absolutely right. But what was inside of the temple?
Under the sheets.
Huh? Showbread was in there. The ark. The menorah. What What were these things made with? They were made with what? Made with gold. Pure gold. So again, it's go back to what we was talking about before, right? Of looking pretty on the outside, but in the inside, you're rotten. You're a coffin full of dead men's bones, right? So that's what this temple is trying to show us about being beautiful on the outside and looking and being rotten on the inside. But let's see how that goes to Messiah. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 53 at verse 1. Who hath believed our report? Into whom is the arm of Yahuwah revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He hath no form, nor comeliness.
Nor what?
Nor comeliness.
What does comeliness mean? But this says he has no comeliness. He don't look good. Read.
And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him.
Just like the temple. So when you saw him, it wasn't no beauty in him. To look at him, to make you say, oh, that's a handsome guy. Like, right? It wasn't Solomon or Absalom that you was attracted to off the rip from just looking at him. He didn't have no beauty in him. But we know how he was inside though, right?
Pure
without
gold.
sin. Pure. Like solid gold. Pure without blemish, with no sin. Who y'all think had the most easiest time in the world? Beautiful people or quote unquote ugly people?
Beautiful.
Because we judge by what? The eyes. That's the wrong thing. That is the wrong thing. So the one sister who the world would think would be that attractive, she can put up a post and drop the most coldest understanding with wisdom. It is. And nobody will like her post. Right? But that one that'll stand in front of the laver with the mirror and say, woo, that dress is working. Right? She put up some garbage. And how many likes she gonna get? Thousands, right? Hey. Ooh, officer. Hi, officer. Oh, but get on out of here. They give you a warning. Let me go turn that camera off right quick. The world is backwards. We've been taught completely backwards in everything. So the beautiful person can get away with murder, can do anything almost, and get away with it. But he's showing you through these scripts, through this temple, through Mashiach, you don't supposed to be like this. You're supposed to judge according to the inward, not the outward. Read that verse 2 again.
For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him.
No beauty that we should desire him. So he made him not the most attractive person on purpose. So you could be like the world and reject him. Yeah, I love you, nigga, man. All the other prophets talk about David and them was beautiful. Talked about, we know what was with Solomon. We know what was with Absalom. He said Absalom was the most beautiful from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. But what kind of person was Absalom?
Bones.
Terrible. He was trying to kill his own father to take the kingdom from him. Now he quit. He tried to take the kingdom from his own father, so we know what type of person inside he was. He was the most beautiful on the outside, but he was rotten. 2 John 1:7.
Second John 1:7. For many deceivers are entered into the world, who confess not that Mashiach is come in the flesh. This is a deceiver and an antichrist.
And a what?
And an antichrist.
And an antichrist. So, one moment, let me get something. I gotta get one thing. David, they was trying to judge from David, but he said, "Who don't judge like men?" Yeah.
I think 11.
One moment. What's the key little word that it said? One moment.
I think that's 11.
Yeah, that's it. 1 Samuel.
16.
1 Samuel 16.
Yeah. We start at verse 1.
Yeah, we go there. 1 Samuel 16 and 1.
1 Samuel chapter 16 at verse 1. And Yahuwah said unto Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill your horn with oil, and go, and I will send you to Jesse, the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he'll kill me. And Yahuwah said, take an heifer with you, and say, I am come to sacrifice to Yahuwah. And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what you shall do. And you shall anoint unto me him whom I name unto you. And Samuel did that which Yahuwah spake, and came to Bethlehem. And the elder of the town trembled at his coming, and said, cometh you peaceably? And he said, peaceably. I'm come to sacrifice unto Yahuwah. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and called them to the sacrifice. And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab, and said,
what?
He looked on Eliab.
This is he saw him. He said he looked on him, read.
And said, surely Yahuwah's anointed is before him.
Surely Yahuwah's anointed is before me. Read.
But Yahuwah said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance.
Look not on what?
Look not on his countenance.
His face. Read.
Or on the height of his stature.
Oh, don't say that he, see, right there, he must be, what they call it, tall, dark, and handsome. He said, don't look at that. Read.
Because I have refused him.
I did what?
I have refused him.
I have refused him. So he saw that the big dude with the 360 waves or whatever it is, and the best braids or whatever it is. He saw him and say, surely that's him right there. He said he refused him. Read.
For Yahuwah seeth not as men see it. For man look on the outward appearance.
Man do what?
Look on the outward appearance.
But he do what?
But Yahuwah look on the heart.
Looks on the what?
The heart.
Which is where? The inside, right?
In the temple.
Inside the temple. All of this is pointing you back to what's in the temple and not focusing on how it looks. Because again, I bet you a whole bunch of people saw it and say, I don't want to go in there, bro. You know what? That Kaaba, that's kind of sharp, though.
That thing nice.
Man, I think in the future, they're going to build a Vatican, and it's going to be nice. So we would rather go in something like that because we're judging how it looks and not what's inside of it. So let's see about this hairs and skins, what they represent. Let's get Leviticus 16 and 20.
Leviticus chapter 16 at verse 20. And when he hath made an end of reconciling the Kodesh place, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat.
What kind of goat?
The live goat.
So we had goat's hair on there, right? Showing again, sacrifice. They had badger skin, which represents the flesh of man, rough, on top of it. And it had the ram's skin, which we know again was the same thing. It represents sacrifice as well. But inside, it had linen in the inside of it, right? Anybody know what was on the linen that was on it? It had a whole bunch of something on it. It had cherubims or angels all over it. Anybody know why inside the temple and on the veil, cherubims was all over it? What that represents? To a degree. What was inside the temple, in the back, in the holies of holies? Mercy seat. Who sits on the mercy seat? Okay, let's see. So cherubims is all around it. Remember. Huh? Yep. Exactly. They were representing how it is in the Shamayim. They're guarding it. So to enter into the holies of holies, you had to be clean. Let's see something. Can we think of anywhere in the scriptures where somebody was guarding a holy place? That's absolutely correct. It's another place in the Old Testament. The garden. Let's get it. Genesis chapter 3. Pick it up at verse 21. So Adam, in the beginning, he was in the presence of the Most High, right? But then he sinned and he made himself what? Unclean. So now that you're unclean, goodbye. You gotta go. Can't be around me no more. Read.
Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahuwah make coats of skin
and sacrifice back here. Read.
And clothe them. And Yahuwah Elohim said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore Yahuwah Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden.
Sent him where?
From the Garden of Eden.
Get out. You gotta go. You're unclean now. Read.
To till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims.
What was there?
Cherubims.
Cherubims. Read.
And a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of the life.
Right here, this is the reason the cherubims is all around it, to show you that they are guarding his, for lack of a better word, they're guarding his holiness or his righteousness. They're always around him. So to get to him, you got to get past the angels, right? That's why he got this there, so Adam can't get back in. But Most High, he tricked me. Don't try to come back in here. You ain't clean now. Same thing. Now, at the temple, it was very wide. It was a whole bunch of people outside. But the closer that you get to Yah, what happened? Less people. So to get in the temple, it got real small. Right? Where does this hint us to? Something that Mashiach said. Absolutely. To go into the temple, hold on. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 19. Y'all getting it. Y'all can see. It's a beautiful thing.
Indeed. Hebrews chapter 10 at verse 19. Having therefore, brethren, boldness to enter into the holiest of the blood of Mashiach.
So now when you get clean, you got boldness to walk in there, because you will be clean. Go ahead.
By a new and living way, which he have consecrated for us through the veil, that is to say, his flesh.
Veil. So once you get right, you can go behind the veil and go in there. Go ahead.
And having a high priest over the house of Elohim, let us draw near with a true heart.
With a what kind of heart?
With a true heart.
Cleansed heart. A clean inward man. Read.
In full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water.
With what?
With pure water.
With pure water. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 12. So again, it's 3 stages. The outward court, where all the people is at. Then you enter into the gate, where the altar and the laver is at. And then you finally can go inside of the temple. So again, the closer that you get to Yah, the less people is going to be. Matthew 7 and 12.
Yahu, or Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Therefore, all things whatsoever you would have that men should do to you, do even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Enter you in at the straight gate.
Enter you in where?
At the straight gate.
At the straight gate. Read.
For wide is the gate.
For wide is the gate. Remember, the outer court is full of people. All around it. Full of sinners. Go ahead.
And broad is the way.
Broad is what?
Is the way.
But we love to follow the crowd, right? Read.
That lead to destruction.
That do what?
That lead to destruction.
That lead to destruction. Read.
And many there be which go in thereat.
So this is what he's actually referring to, is trying to get into this temple. Outside it's a gang of people. Then you make the next step. A whole bunch of them people fall off. And then when you finally get there, almost all the people them fell off. Before you get into this temple. That's why he's showing you this. Broad is the way that lead to destruction. He is the gate. You don't come by him, you don't get in. So when we're amongst all these people, the outer people, what should we do? So if you're on the outer court or the outer gate with all those people, what should you do? Do what? Separate yourself. 2 Corinthians 6 and 17.
Second Corinthians chapter 6 at verse 17. Wherefore, come out from among them.
Do what?
Come out from among them.
Get away from them people. Because he told you, broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. So come from among them. Get from out there. Read.
And be you separate.
Do what?
And be you separate.
Oh, they think they too good. Nope. I know what's going to happen to you. I'm trying to beg you to come and stop doing it, because I know what's going to happen to you if you keep being out there. Read that from the top again.
Wherefore, come out from among them, and be you separate, saith Yahuwah.
Saith who?
Saith Yahuwah.
Saith Yahuwah. Not cold, not mellow. Y'all said this. Revelations chapter 18 and verse 4.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from Shamaim saying, come out of her, my people.
Do what?
Come out of her, my people.
Get from among them. Go inside. Go in there and get the sacrifice. Go in there and wash yourself and cleanse yourself. Become a priest so you can go inside. Because it wasn't nothing over the top of them, right? That means the elements is out there to get you. Read.
Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues.
Receive not of her plagues. So you wouldn't have the covering to protect you if you stay out there amongst the people.
Right.
Revelations 11, verse 1. Nasi, stop.
Revelation chapter 11 at verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and a malak stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of Elohim.
Do what?
Measure the temple of Elohim.
Go ahead.
And the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple, leave out.
But the what?
But the court which is without the temple, leave out.
Do what to it?
Leave out.
What verse you at?
Still on verse 2.
Go ahead.
For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the Kodesh city shall they tread underfoot 42 months.
You said you skipped something.
I did.
Go back to verse 2 again.
My bad. Verse 2. But the court which is without the temple, leave out.
Do what?
Leave out.
Leave it out. That's the outer court where all the people was at. All the sinful people was at. Surrounding it. Read.
And measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles.
Given it to who?
The Gentiles.
Given it to the Gentiles, meaning you still going to be under the Gentiles' control. Read.
And the Kodesh city shall they tread underfoot 42 months.
So again, all of this is trying to show you to come from out from among these people, go inside, accept the sacrifice, wash yourself, look at yourself inwardly, cleanse yourself, become a priest, then you can go inside. Is this clear? Indeed. All right. So we can finally get to go inside. So when you get through the veil, what's the first thing that you would see? Anybody? First thing that would be in there would be the menorah, right? And inside of there, it was the only light source that was in there, right? No other light source inside of there except for that. So outside you had the sun, the moon, and the stars and all of this stuff. But inside of it, only thing that was there was the menorah. Let me see. One moment. All right, Exodus chapter 25 and verse 31.
Exodus chapter 25 at verse 31. And you shall make a candlestick of pure gold.
What kind of gold?
Of pure gold.
Pure gold. 14 karat gold?
Pure gold.
Gold plated.
Pure gold.
Pure gold. So this is what's inside. Read.
Of beaten work.
What kind of work?
Of beaten work.
Beaten work. Keep that in mind. Read.
Shall the candlestick be made, his shaft, and his branches, his boughs.
So this candlestick had what on it? Branches, right? Read.
His boughs, his knops, and his flowers shall be of the same. And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it. 3 branches of the candlesticks out of the one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side.
So 3 on one side and 3 on the other side, plus the middle post that holds it up, equals 7. What does 7 symbolize? Completion, right? Read.
3 boughs, or 3 bowls, made like unto the almonds.
Made like what?
Like unto almonds.
Unto almonds. Wonder why almonds. We'll see. Read.
With a knot and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a knot and a flower, so in the 6 branches that came out of the candlestick. And in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls, made like unto almonds, with their knops and their flowers. And there shall be a knot under the 2 branches of the same, and a knot under 2 branches, and a knot under 2 branches of the same, and a knot under 2 branches. Tongue tied. Read it again. And there shall be a knot under 2 branches of the same, and a knot under 2 branches of the same, and a knot under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick.
Okay.
Their knot and their branches shall be of the same, and it shall be one beaten work of pure gold.
Pure gold again. Read.
And you shall make the 7 lamps thereof, and they shall light the lamps thereof, that they might give light over against it.
Do what?
That they may give light over against it.
They might give light over against it. So again, it was the only source of light inside of there. So with that was the only thing that the priest could see. But outside, you had the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all of these things, right? One moment.
I was reading the same thing over and over again.
So, again, inside the menorah was the only light. What is this trying to show us? Let's see. Revelation chapter 21.
Yeah.
Only one light inside the temple. We're about to see. Revelation chapter 21 and verse 22.
Revelation 21 and verse 22. And I saw no temple therein, for Yahuwah Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun.
Had no what?
No need of the sun.
Remember, inside it couldn't be seen. But outside, the sun, moon, and the stars and everything. Read.
And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it. For the esteem of Elohim did enlighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof.
See that? So inside of it, you don't need the sun and the moon and the stars, because the real light is inside.
Exactly.
But only if you are a priest, you can get to see it. To go inside and get to see it. So the menorah is the first piece of furniture that the priest would see. And this is what he could do his job using this light. John chapter 8, verse 12. John chapter 8 and verse 12.
Yehukanan chapter 8 at verse 12. And Mashiach spake again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world.
I am what?
I am the light of the world.
I am the light of the world. Read.
He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness.
Shall what?
Shall not walk in darkness.
So the priests, when they came in, they didn't walk in darkness because they had the light. Read.
The Pharisees thereof said unto him, You bearest record of yourself. Your record is not true.
So now they're trying to get at him, but he just told them exactly who he is and what this menorah is actually representing. Now, it really wasn't candlesticks. It was burning off of a certain type of an oil. Anybody know what type of oil that was burning? It's olive oil. Olive oil. And how do you get olive oil? You got to do what? You got to beat the tree in order to get the oil. What could that be pointing you to? So in order to get olive oil from the tree has to be beaten in order to get the oil from it. He just told you right here that he was the what of the world?
Light.
He was the light of the world. And if you got me, you won't walk in darkness. So every day that this menorah had to be full so that this olive oil never ran out. Never run out. I mean, because the light's supposed to be always. Exodus 24 and 2. Exodus chapter 24 and verse 2.
Shemot chapter 24 at verse 2. And Moses alone shall come near Yahuwah, but they shall not come near, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahuwah, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, 24, I read from 24 and 2.
Okay, 24 and 2.
You read it again?
Yeah.
Exodus 24 verse 2. And Moshe alone shall come near Yahuwah, but they shall not come near, neither shall the people go up with him.
Neither shall what?
The people go up with him.
Neither shall the people go up with him. They not in the state to go up with him. They can't go yet because they haven't went through this process that Moses and Aaron and their children went through. So it's a certain way that you got to get there. But say for instance, the menorah is supposed to be lit always, right? But what if the priest was lazy and he let it go out? What if he got lazy in some kind of way, let that thing go out? Let's see something. Matthew chapter 25. Pick it up at verse 1.
Matthew 25 and 1. Then shall the kingdom of Shamaim be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps.
It took what?
Took their lamps.
What does a lamp need to burn? Oil. Olive oil. Read.
And went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, and go you out to meet him. Then those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, For our lamps are going out.
For our lamps are what?
It's going out.
Our lamps are going out. So now the temple, the menorah never supposed to go out. So if it went out, the priest might have to go out and do what? Get some more or something. But he wasn't supposed to let this happen. Read. So while he go out and get some more, something might take place. Read.
But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go you rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came.
What came?
The bridegroom came.
Go ahead.
And they that were ready went with him to the marriage. And the door was shut.
And the what?
The door was shut.
And the door was shut. So you done became a priest, then got to go inside, supposed to do your work. But you slipped up. You didn't have your oil. Now you got to go back outside in the court. While you outside in the court, the door gets shut on you. You don't want that to happen to you.
And you can't see.
Exactly. And you can't see. Because you ain't got no oil.
No light.
No light. Man. So all of this thing is showing you, again, so everybody we know that when we get to this stuff like this, and the knops had 4 knops, and the knops with the knops on it, what we do? We turn to the next chapter, right? Because that's not important.
It's just
we all agree that everything in this book is important. He's not saying it for no reason. So it's a reason why it's in here to show you something. So the menorah was never supposed to go out. It's supposed to run all the time. So let's get 1 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 3.
First Samuel chapter 3 and verse 3.
So he said the door was shut on them that was trying to go back and get some oil. The door got shut on them. All right. Go ahead. 1 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 3.
1 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 3. And ere the Lamb of Elohim went out in the temple of Yahuwah, and where the ark of Elohim was.
Where the what?
The ark of Elohim was.
That's in the holies of holies. Go ahead.
And Samuel was laid down to sleep. That Yahuwah called Samuel, and he answered, Here am I.
All right. Jump down to verse 11.
Verse 11. And Yahuwah said unto Samuel, Behold, I will do a thing in Israel, at which both the ears of everyone that hear it shall tingle. In that day I will perform against Eli all things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will also make an end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever.
How long?
Forever.
Go ahead.
For the iniquity which he knoweth, because his sons made themselves vile, and he restrained them not. And therefore I have sworn unto the house of Eli, that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be purged with sacrifice nor offering forever.
So the sacrifice, it won't even work for this dude no more. Forever for what he's done. Read.
And Samuel lay until the morning, and opened the doors of the house of Yahuwah. And Samuel feared to show Eli the vision. And Eli called Samuel and said, Samuel, my son. And he answered, Here am I. And he said, What is the thing that Yahuwah said unto you? I pray you hide it not from me. Elohim do so to you, and more also if you hide anything from me of all the things that he said unto you.
So the thing is, he tried to go in and burn wicked incense in here, and he wasn't supposed to be able to go in there. So this is somebody that got high-minded and thought he can go in there another way and do what he wanted to do. But he already told you it's only one way in. He said, I am the door, and if you try to get in here and do any other type of way, he is a thief and a robber. And that's what this dude was trying to accomplish. Going in here and doing it his own way. So it was only one way in here. You couldn't sneak in the back. You couldn't go in under it. You couldn't get over it. There's only one way to go in there. And you got to go through this process in order to get in there. Basically go through the gate, get the sacrifice, cleanse yourself, look at yourself, become a priest. Then you can go inside to see the light. This is the only way you can get inside to see the light, which is that menorah. All right. Get me Luke chapter 2 and verse 32.
Lucas chapter 2 and verse 32. A light to lighten the Gentiles.
A what?
A light to lighten the
A
Gentiles.
light to lighten the Gentiles. No Gentiles can be saved. Why? You got a light for them. Read.
A light to lighten the Gentiles, and the esteem of your people Israel. And Joseph and his mother marveled at those things which were spoken of him.
So we said a light to lighten the Gentiles. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 14.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 14. You are the light of the world.
You are what?
You are the light of the world.
You are the light of the world. Read.
A city that is set on a hill.
So when you get like him and follow him, you also be supposed to become a light. Right? But light do two things. A thief and a robber, they don't like the light, do they? They do stuff when? In the dark, at night. But the other thing that light do, it either draws people to you or they got to get away from you. Because your light is going to show their darkness and their wicked hearts. Right? So he says, you are a light. Read that again.
You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel.
That don't make sense. You put it under a bushel. Read.
But on a candlestick, and it give light unto all that are in the house.
Give light to who?
All that are in the house.
Because there was only one light inside the temple. It was the menorah. But that menorah had branches on it, right? And it was fire on top. Can anybody show me a picture of that before it happened? Before the menorah was made? So it's a candlestick with branches on it and fire on it. And voice come from it, out of it. The burning bush. That was the first thing.
It wasn't consumed.
And it wasn't consumed. Right. So the burning bush was a picture of the menorah before it was ever made. Trying to show you this. Because again, it's a stick with branches on it and it's fire on top of it. Exactly. Told him, don't come up here. Take your shoes off. Just like you had to take your shoes off in the temple to go inside on the dirt. Same thing, because you standing on Kodesh ground. So that's what the menorah was actually showing you, the burning bush. See that? Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 7. Yep, we're going to have to continue it another couple of weeks because I'm not even nowhere near finished. So,
You say Ephesians?
Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 7.
Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 7. Be not you therefore partakers with them.
Come out from among them. Read.
For you were sometimes darkness.
Sometimes what?
Darkness.
Sometimes darkness. So we're supposed to be representing the sun. Because the sun do its thing every day. It don't waver. Every day that we've been alive, that sun has come up, right? But it's a light for the night. And it wavers. And it changes. Sometimes you can see it. Sometimes you don't. One time it's full. One time it's little. Because it's that darkness. It's in the night. And it's another religion that uses it for its symbol. We won't get into that. Read on.
But let no man, verse 7. Be not you therefore partakers with them, for you were sometimes darkness.
Sometimes darkness, read.
But now are you light in the Master. Walk as children of the light.
Walk as what?
Children of the light.
Walk as children of the light. But if you're on the outward court, you are children of what? Of the darkness. 1 John 1 and 5.
First John chapter 1 verse 5. This then is the message which we have heard of him, and declare unto you that Elohim is light.
And he is what?
Is light.
He is light and what?
And in him is no darkness at all.
In him there is no darkness at all. This is how we have to become. This is where we have to get to and have no more darkness in us. So when we go through this process, this cleansing process, and we look at ourselves in that mirror, we should start to look like the priest. So we can go inside, but not leave out the oil and have to come back out and get the door shut on you. So Mashiach is the tree, and we are the branches. The Most High is the tree for him, and he is the branch for Yah. Keep that in mind. Again, all back to that burning bush, the 7 lamps, the 7 lights, and all of these things, what it represents. Revelation chapter 1 and verse 12.
Revelation chapter 1 and verse 12. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks.
So he said the voice that spake with him, and he saw what?
7 golden candlesticks.
So Moses turned and he saw what? When he turned and saw, he looked at what though?
Bush.
The burning bush. Same thing. Read.
And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man.
One like who?
Unto the Son of Man.
One like unto the Son of Man. Jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20. The mystery of the 7 stars which you saw in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the Malachim of the 7 congregations, and the 7 candlesticks which you saw are the 7 congregations.
Are the what?
7 congregations.
7 congregations. So all of this stuff is showing you what this menorah was representing, the light, how it was beaten, work, the olive oil. In order to get olive oil, you have to beat the tree. All of this stuff was pointing us to Mashiach. Just like the stuff in the outer court was showing us Mashiach. But inside the Ark of the Covenant, there was something inside of it. It was a rod. Anybody know what was special about this rod? We'll see. It was Aaron's rod. Exodus chapter 25 and verse 33. Exodus chapter 25 and verse 33.
Exodus, or Shemot, chapter 25, and verse 33. 3 bowls made like unto almonds, with a knot, and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds, in the other branch, with a knot and a flower. So in the 6 branches that come out of the candlestick. And the candlesticks shall be 4 bowls, made like unto almonds, with their knots and their flowers.
And their what?
And their flowers.
And their flowers. Numbers 17 and verse 8.
Numbers chapter 17, verse 8. And it came to pass that on the morrow Moshe went into the tabernacle of witness. And behold, the rod of Aharon for the house of Levi was budded.
It was what?
Was budded.
So Aaron's rod budded. So think of somebody with a staff, and all of a sudden you go in and the staff then grew. Plants, flowers and almonds and stuff start growing on that tree. What do you think that is trying to show you something? Trying to show you what? So basically, a dead stick comes to life. It's a picture. It's a picture of the resurrection. So again, a stick is dead because somebody then made it into a staff. And all of a sudden you go in and flowers and almonds is growing on it. You're like, how in the world is this? But that's what this is showing you. Aaron's stick came back to life. This is miracle type of thing. Also, the almond tree is one of the first trees that blooms after the winter. Showing that it's the first thing because we call winter the what? The dead of winter. So it's one of the first things that blooms to start back the new year or spring off. Again, symbolizing new life, which Mashiach was quote unquote the dead stick that budded and came back to life. 1 Corinthians 15 and 20.
First Corinthians chapter 15 at verse 20. But now is Mashiach risen from the dead.
He is what?
Risen from the dead.
Risen from the dead, just like that staff, which was dead, and it budded. That's what this is symbolizing. We're going to prove it in a minute. Read.
And become the first fruits.
Come to what?
The first fruits.
When is the first fruit? Spring. Right? Read.
Of them that slept.
That did what?
That slept.
That slept. So he was the first fruit, budded. Something that was dead that came back to life became the first fruit of them that slept. Jeremiah 1 and 11.
Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 11. Moreover, the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Jeremiah, what see you? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree.
A what?
A rod of an almond tree.
A rod of an almond tree. Remember, the almond tree, one of the first things that grows coming out of the dead of winter, symbolizing Mashiach coming back to life or springing forth. Read.
Then said Yahuwah unto me, you have well seen.
You have what?
You have well seen.
You have well seen. Revelation chapter 4 verse 5.
Revelation chapter 4 at verse 5. And out of the throne proceed lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne.
7 what?
7 lamps of fire burning before the throne.
7 lamps of fire burning before the throne. Go ahead.
Which are the 7 ruach of Elohim.
Which are the what?
7 ruach of Elohim.
The 7 ruachs of Elohim. They're the 7 spirits. Isaiah chapter 11 verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 11 at verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod.
A what?
A rod.
There shall come forth a rod. Read.
Of the stem of Jesse.
Of the what?
Of the stem of Jesse.
Of the stem of Jesse. So he's letting you know that it's a rod going to come out of it. Read.
And a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the ruach of Yahuwah shall rest upon him.
Meaning this tree was dead out of the stem or the stump. Read.
The ruach of wisdom and understanding.
Now, how many spirits it said in Revelation?
7.
7 spirits, right? Read that again.
The ruach of wisdom.
1.
And understanding.
2.
The ruach of counsel.
3.
The ruach of might.
4.
The ruach of knowledge.
5.
And of the fear of Yahuwah.
And Yahuwah's own spirit, which is 7. Solomon had the spirit of might. Only one. Solomon had the spirit of wisdom. And Samson had the spirit of might. But Mashiach is the one that had all of them. That's what we are trying to get. All of the spirits of Yah. Read that second verse again.
And the ruach of Yahuwah shall rest upon him. The ruach of wisdom. The ruach of understanding. The ruach of counsel and might. The ruach of knowledge. And of the fear of Yahuwah.
And the what?
And of the fear of Yahuwah.
And the fear of Yahuwah. You just taught a lesson about the fear. What does that really mean?
It's talking about like the honor of the Most High.
Go a little bit deeper.
The honor, the keeping of His commandments, the what's the word I'm looking for? The obedience of the Most High. What's the word I'm looking for?
And you're not just doing it because you are afraid of Him.
It's not a scared thing. Reverence, that's the word. That's the word. Todayah, right? The reverence.
So we was just at the candlestick. We finally made it inside the temple. The first object that was inside was the menorah and the light and all of that stuff, which was showing us that it's the light that's inside, which represents the Messiah being the light of the world. No need of the sun and the moon and the stars to bring it light. The way that you get in, you have to do the sacrifice, or you have to enter into the gate, leave the people, enter into the gate, do the sacrifice, wash yourself, look at yourself, reflect who you are inwardly, become a priest, then you can come inside, then you can look at the light, right? Knowing, but the way that you got in there, it was angels all over it, which symbolized what?
The Garden of Eden.
The Garden of Eden, and they was actually protecting the holy place or where he was at. So we'll stop there, and our next time up, we'll continue, and we'll start at the showbread. So with that, say shalom.
Shalom. Any questions from anybody watching? We are opened up for questions for this short time. Anybody got questions here? Y'all good?
Y'all good? You get it? That's beautiful. Yep, if you understand it, it's beautiful. Shell. Help Mom. All right, anybody got anything on there?
Oh, not that I see. All right, y'all. With that, we say shalom.
So.